Greetings, people of Earth. I'm Rick Harold. Thanks for watching my video and listening to my podcast. Today, how can you defeat giant companies? Is it possible? Of course it is. It's been done many times before. When I started out, my first professional job was at IBM. IBM was the god of computers. They represented, maybe in the mindset, 80-90% of what computers were, circa 1984-ish. They were big. Nobody was doing anything to IBM. Within 10 years, that same company was almost going to be going under. Why? Because of the PC itself, and of course Apple, who spurred on the PC, and more people could be involved in computing and using information with each other. So you didn't need to have these giant mainframes because what they could do wasn't really needed for everybody. More applications were possible with these other smaller machines. When we started InstallShield, IBM was still there, but it was really Microsoft now that was starting to replace, although working with IBM, towards creating a new computing environment. Now, they worked together on DOS, and OS/2 was the new one. But Microsoft with Windows had its own ideas and where they wanted to go with that, and that would, in the end, start the downfall of IBM. Now, IBM's still here today, and they do actually wonderful things. But the percentage of what they impact is much, much smaller than basically they used to be everything. Microsoft went through the same transition. They were the kings. They replaced IBM. They were computing to some extent for most people. But then came the internet. Then came open source, Linux. And Microsoft kind of dropped the ball in terms of a lot of these technologies or got into it kind of late. We actually competed with Microsoft, although in a weird symbiotic way, in installation within Windows and other platforms. We were able to survive by kind of outmaneuvering them and having a better product and, of course, more focus on it. So Microsoft had their own share of issues and ran into the same kind of problems IBM did, being a large company and not being able to change their focus on where they're going. They didn't catch on to the new technologies, the iPod, the iPhone, really the internet. They used their position in Windows to kind of force themselves back in. Otherwise, they would have been history. And then recently, cloud computing, they were late to the game in that, where Amazon, through AWS, has been way out in front in all those technologies and has a big lead right now. Now, to Microsoft's credit, they've worked their way back. The point is, big companies that have large user bases have to stay innovative in order to maintain their position. And a lot of times that requires them to cannibalize themselves in a way in order to undermine what they're doing for the new kind of direction technology goes. Snapchat and WhatsApp are two examples where Facebook, Twitter, Google, to some extent, were outmaneuvered by little tiny companies. Now, some of the other reasons why this can happen, and can happen today, is, for instance, we can create a server system using Amazon or Microsoft or Google or the combination of these, scale to hundreds of millions of users, and not have a single machine, either for our desktop or even for the servers. We can scale with minimum staff and compete, if we have a good idea, with these larger companies very quickly. When we first started, having a server was super expensive. Even desktops were super expensive. Managing them was expensive. The physical cost of having physical machines was a problem. And it took time to move, even for a smaller company 15, 20 years ago. Today, the world's your oyster, so to speak. It's really quite open. And as all the cloud companies provide their technology, it enables us to even do a lot more with the artificial intelligence that they're building into it that you can leverage, whether it's natural language processing or transcription, or just the sheer force of the technology itself. Even these companies today, the Amazons, Microsoft, that's still out there fighting, Google, Facebook, can be usurped. Not that you want to usurp them, and not that it would be a direct assault. It may be more tangential or on the side, like a WhatsApp or a Snapchat, or other things. So smaller companies have a lot to be able to leverage in terms of distributed workforce, such as Upwork and Fiverr, or the ability just to communicate across the world in terms of getting people to work with you. Marketing mechanisms through Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and all these other places that you can provide your message. So depending upon your idea, you really can achieve pretty much anything with all the stuff that's been built out there to leverage, versus today when InstallShield started for us, where we had to have physical machines and you had to have magazines that you put advertisements in that had long lead times. That's all gone. It's instantaneous, and it's awesome because it keeps everybody on their toes, and it really allows pretty much anyone to get involved and get some solutions out there that are cool. That's it. Thanks for listening, and take it easy.